So thank you so much, because your time is so precious, Kelsey. So thank you for joining us. And firstly, I'm going to just ask you to tell us what aspect of the BA course prepared you for industry the most?
Yeah, so obviously I graduated from the BA course in 2013. I think I did an internship module with menswear designer Christopher Shannon, which was amazing and exciting. I think that was in the second year of the course. And I felt that really gave me an insight into the industry. It was a real eye-opener into what's kind of expected, what the day-to-day duties are of being a designer or a design room assistant or whatever in the industry. So I found that really useful. Also, that was a designer brand that I was interning for, and following that, I made a kind of decision that I might want to go into more affordable fashion, high street fashion, etc. So I do think that was a really good experience, and it kind of informed me on what I really wanted to do as well, which was great. Also, we did some projects where we had some guest tutors from the industry come in as well, and set us projects, like industry projects, and that was super useful to get feedback from industry professionals on your level of work and how it compares to people in the real industry as well. Yeah. Also, I would just like to say, if with tutors, guest tutors, industry tutors or whatever, I think it's really worth kind of asking as many questions as possible and getting information from people, because that can be really, really useful as well.
Yeah, we still do the internship. So I run that in second year, and
Yeah.
students have just come back. I mean, we had a mixed bag this year. We did have a student that went out to Amsterdam, to Iris van Herpen. Some of them, I mean, I found that this whole Zoom, it's pros and cons, isn't it? The kind of virtual world that we're living in now has actually opened up a few more opportunities to get overseas industry speaking to students, whereas before it would have been logistically a nightmare to kind of go out to those places and visit these factories. So we've had these virtual tours, which has been quite an eye-opener really, and bridging the gap between education and industry is a really strong sort of aspect that I'm bridging and working on. So that's really good feedback to know that.
I think as well, like when you do go out and do your internships and whatnot, I think it's really worth trying to kind of get those contacts and stuff,
Yeah,
because
sure.
like staying in touch with people, adding people on LinkedIn after, etc. I think that's really useful, because then maybe in the future you can use those contacts, or you might cross paths with someone again, and actually having that link with people in the industry can be really, really useful, I think.
Yeah, LinkedIn has been a bit of a saviour as well, actually, and we'll go on to where you look for jobs a bit later.
Yeah, yeah.
So the other thing is, I wanted to ask you, what was the hardest part of transitioning from university life to working in industry?
Yeah, so I think the thing is that you can't underestimate the competition of the other candidates that are going for the roles. So I think what I found is when we were in our uni group, everybody within the group kind of wanted to go in a slightly different direction. So, you know, in terms of like what style of brand they wanted to work for, or what level in the industry they wanted to work at, whether it was luxury, high street, etc. So we didn't necessarily have any direct competition in the group. So I think that you can't underestimate how many other people, or how many other designers or buyers or whatever you want to go into in the industry will be gunning for the same position that you're gunning for. So I think you need to go like above and beyond, basically, in your applications. Make sure you spend time over your applications. Also, you can have a look at other designers' portfolios online. There's, you know, a lot of people have websites, or there's different websites where you can see people's online portfolios, just to see how you're comparing to other people who are applying for perhaps similar positions to you. I think another thing is as well that I left uni with a beautiful creative portfolio, but was applying for high street positions. So you really have to have a think about your portfolio and how it's presented to perhaps the brand or the company that you're looking for a position in. Because I found that my portfolio was beautiful and creative and gorgeous, but actually in the end, I had to end up setting myself some projects for my portfolio to make it look a bit more commercial, a bit more high street, etc. So yeah, I just think don't underestimate the competition, and make sure you're putting yourself out there and really putting all the effort you can into your portfolio, your CV and your applications as well.
So it's research, it's being the best you can be, and it's also that kind of maybe doing a diffusion line as well as a really creative haute couture sort of looking collection, which is what most people do for because it's their shot at being a creative. So they've got their outfits and they're usually bespoke and, like you say, beautiful art pieces, but to have that kind of commercial eye, it's worth doing a diffusion range, which is what the high street does, isn't it? Copies maybe the more haute couture and luxury brands. So maybe a good bit of advice is for students to have that aspect in their portfolio and to tailor that portfolio to that specific job, would you say?
And I think with everyone, with your final major project or your final third year project, you want to create, like you said, like art pieces, the most beautiful collection. And I think it's still good to have that, even if you are applying for a commercial role. It's still good to have that kind of really arty, creative stuff in, because it's fun and you want to make an impact when you're, leaving your final year. But I do think if you can spend a couple of days or a week or something sketching up a slightly more commercial project, this is only obviously if you're applying for commercial fashion like what I'm in, people can see that actually that is something you're able to do, I think that's really important.
Yeah, so it's targeting the brands really that you're applying to.
So the good thing sorry, I was just going to say, when I went for interviews, when I graduated, people were, for jobs that I didn't get, people were amazing at giving feedback on my portfolio and what I perhaps needed to be showing that I wasn't showing already, etc. So just listen to people, ask questions, and also the tutors are really amazing at answering questions, helping, etc.
I hope so, yeah. So you've been out for a number of years now. What significant changes have you seen in the industry?
Yeah, obviously I work in like high street and e-commerce fashion, and I've found that there's been a definite shift towards more sustainability. So, obviously more eco fashion, organic fabrics, etc. And also trends that are going to have a little bit more longevity. So, for example, trends that people aren't just going to be able to wear for 2 months and then they're going to be out of fashion again. People are looking for stuff you can hang up in your wardrobe and keep for a number of years. So I think that's a massive shift. And a really positive shift also in the industry has been, there's been a few online brands and high street brands that have been called out over the last few years on their ethics, their working conditions, their factory conditions. So there's a lot more tighter restriction now and on like working conditions for people in factories and stuff like that, which is, I really welcome. It's a really positive thing. So I think that's been a big shift that I've seen since I've been working in the industry.
And just to drill down a little bit more, how did COVID affect your company? I mean, you've actually swapped jobs, so maybe you can talk a bit about that over the, how's the last 18 months been for you? What did your life look like?
So just to give a little bit of a background of the area that I work in, I don't work specifically for a brand. I work for a supplier to the high street and online brands. So that means that we specialise in a specific type of design. For example, we specialise in going out wear, occasion wear and evening wear. And different brands such as, say, ASOS, we were working with Coast, Nasty Gal, will come to us for our specialist knowledge and design abilities in that certain kind of design. So we will do evening wear ranges for these different brands. And because we were doing evening wear, there's been a massive shift in how the type of garments that people want to buy and people's habits in buying as well. So we were on furlough for a few months last year, which was difficult when you're so used to the industry that moves so quickly and then suddenly you're doing nothing. So we were on furlough for 4 months last year, and we've had to adapt since the way that we design, because people aren't necessarily going to weddings, or, you know, events have been postponed. So we've had to work out ways to make our designs commercial for wearing in the evening, but also you can wear it in the daytime with a pair of trainers, etc. So we've really had to work on how we are still relevant to people, and we're still going to be selling our designs, but we're fitting in with the changing world and the new trends that people are buying into as well. Yeah, I've recently shifted to a company now, and we are a supplier, but we work predominantly with ASOS on their going out and nightwear dresses and clubbing dresses, essentially. And we've suddenly got a massive influx of demand for going out dresses that you can wear to a wedding, dresses that you can wear to different like special events, etc. So I do think that it has had a shift back into that recently, which is amazing and busy. And
we're waiting for the announcement today, of course, about the lifting or non-lifting of restrictions and weddings and the amount of people that can go, you know, so all of that affects the fashion industry massively, doesn't it? Every little thing.
Yeah, we are currently we're week to week, we completely changing tactic, because it's kind of like, okay, everybody's buying these beautiful satin dresses that they can go to clubs in, they're getting ready to go to clubs. And then something changes and it's like, right, now everybody's buying this. So you have to constantly shift your mindset and be like, okay, we need to keep on top of what's changing, and it's changing on a weekly basis. So it's a lot, but it's good.
It's kind of amazing, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And now I know you've started this job, I think, just on Monday last week. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what does your average day look like?
So because we're working on very trend-led design, most days it's having a look at the newest trends. So we'll have a look at Instagram, catwalk trends, what different brands have put up. We need to be totally on top of everything that's being put out in the media. It's a lot of meetings. So we'll have meetings with fabric suppliers coming in constantly, almost daily meetings with fabric suppliers. Meeting with the buying team. So the buyers are in charge of what designs they're going to bring into their specific department for the brands. So, you know, depending on what brand you're working with, for example, River Island, we'll have a buyer that specialises in dresses for River Island, and then we'll have a buyer that specialises in skirts and trousers, etc. So we have to present a range to them based on what they've been buying and what they want to buy in. And so lots of sketching, lots of trend research, and lots of meetings with suppliers and buyers, etc.
It sounds really good, really rich kind of environment to be working in. It's quick. So it keeps you on your toes, yeah?
Yeah, it's very quick, and you're never on a project for the entire day. It's like, this happens. We will literally have an email in and be like, from a brand, and they'll say, we need this, like, we need a new trouser shape in, but we need to get our sample back by the end of the week. So you have to switch, move on to that, you know, etc. So it's very quick moving, but That's what we got into fashion for, really, isn't it? Because it's fun, it's quick moving.
Yeah, it attracts a certain type of person that enjoys that, you know. Yeah, I think it does fit that lifestyle to the sort of graduates that we have.
Yeah.
So I've got one final question, and then Kelsey's got a fantastic presentation that she's going to share her screen and show. And it's really for the graduates and for anybody that's thinking of studying fashion. Where should students look to find a job in this competitive market? Do you have a go-to platform that you look to when you're applying for positions?
Yeah, so Drapers Online is a really good platform for new jobs that are coming through. Companies such as Fashion Worky, which is an online job site that just posts jobs from a lot of different places. And also I use LinkedIn. So if you are doing an industry module where you're going out and interning, make sure you add those people on LinkedIn. Anyone that you've come across, you can add them on LinkedIn. So it's kind of like a social media platform, but for finding jobs. And that's really good because your CV's up on your page and people can just contact you from there. And you can also find jobs. I have a spreadsheet of all of the different fashion recruiters and job websites that I've used that are good, just so that if I am looking for a job, I can refer back to my spreadsheet. I also have a list of brands, like brands that I would aspire to work for on that spreadsheet as well, so that you can just go back and click through. Not all of the brands will list their job opportunities on like Drapers or a website like that. So it's worth actually clicking onto the brand's own job page to have a look. So if you just keep a spreadsheet or a list somewhere, and when you're applying for jobs, you can regularly go and look through those job websites and the brand job websites to find out what's out there, what's new. I think that's really useful.
I think that's really good advice.
I also upload, so my current position, I didn't apply for it. I uploaded my CV onto Drapers, and then I got contacted from a recruiter who was recruiting for the position. So there's no harm in uploading your CV to places and people getting in touch with you on the side of you actually actively applying for positions.
It'd be great for you to do some CV workshops, maybe. Now that I've got you back on you know, on my radar, maybe you could do some one-to-ones with students when they're doing their work placements and things like that. I think
Yeah,
it'd be a great person to look over.
yeah. I mean, with my CV, I've kept it consistent with my portfolio. My portfolio is very clean and my CV is very clean. So it's that idea of having everything looking cohesive and working together, because you're presenting yourself like a brand is presenting itself. It needs to all work together.
You are the brand, aren't you? You are.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Lovely. That was really, really fantastic advice. Can I allow you to share your screen now, and then maybe you can talk us through your presentation and we'll look at your work.
So this is, I've just basically put together a few recent projects that I've been working on, just because I thought you guys might be interested to see. And also this is kind of the format that I display my portfolio in as well. So this might give you a little insight into perhaps if you wanted to go into a similar sort of level of fashion as what I'm working in, this is kind of an insight into perhaps how you might want to think about formatting your portfolio. So obviously I work in more the fast fashion side of things. So there's been a trend for like brands doing collaborations with specific celebrities and things like that. So I was lucky enough to get to work on the Nasty Girl Rata range that was released recently. So basically what I did is I decided to go, they sent us mood boards and it was like a Western theme. So I presented loads of sketches to them and they picked out a few that they wanted to use. So this is some of the pieces. And then this is just an idea of how the products look on the website as well. So I normally work with CAD drawing, which is like computer aided drawing using Illustrator. But also I think it's worth having the know-how to like sketch by hand as well, because some companies do like to see sketches by hand. Okay. Alongside working for the supplier that I was working for different brands, we also had our own brand called Lashes of London. So we, the brand was active before I joined, but it wasn't, so they weren't selling when I joined. So basically myself and another designer relaunched the brand. So they currently sell on ASOS and Silk Thread, and we had some stuff on Dolls Kill as well. So this is it's very young women's wear brand, as you can see, going out, very sexy, etc. So this is just some of the work that we did on Dolls Kill. This is how I'd typically display a mood board. So just all of the ideas together, colour palette, fabrications, etc. So that is the mood board for the collection that I just showed you. Another celebrity collaboration, and this is a good tip as well. If you've got Instagram or social media, it's worth following some of the fashion influencers. We did a collaboration with Public Desire and Lissy Roddy. So again, they sent me a mood board and I designed a collection for them, and they picked out a few pieces to go into the range. So this one's the kind of like easy to wear daytime to nighttime collection, you know, that's like summery. Yeah, and it's like just that kind of Instagram girl stuff really is what I'm always briefed to do. I did some work for Missguided, but their elevated, more premium collection. So this is a kind of like holiday range that I did for them a couple of years back. And yeah, I just basically was briefed to design some sexy kind of chic holiday pieces that were going to sell at a slightly higher price point than normal Missguided. So this is the range that I worked on for them. That's that. I also have my format of my CV, if you'd be interested to see how that looks. Yeah, okay, I'll find that. Sorry, bear with me 2 seconds. I'll just grab it. Okay. Can you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, so this is kind of how I formatted my CV. So I've got my little kind of branding up here, which I change every couple of years, and then just really, really cleanly formatted like that.
Very nice. So, do you have did you design that on what's it called, InDesign? Do you use InDesign, or did you use one of the like Canva kind of formats that you can just buy in?
So I used InDesign for that one. So yeah, I just wanted to really kind of clearly lay it out so that it looks a little bit creative, but not so creative that it's impossible to basically read or
yeah, just that splash of colour with your logo is the sort of communication that you're a designer. Almost, it's sort of unspoken language, really, isn't it? And just feedback on portfolio, just to say, technical flats and that communication of the proportion and the shape and the silhouette is just so important that it looks like exactly like what the product will be in the end. And I think students need to be really precise about how their flat technical drawings look against what they want to communicate, because if there's any miscommunication there, it's yeah, it makes for a really poor looking portfolio. So I think that was really strong, and I think that's a skill that it's just a really strong skill to have, isn't it? How to use the software packages and just getting it absolutely right so that it communicates that exact shape, the length, the sleeve, the width, you know, the silhouette, everything. So yeah, I think that was really important.
Takes a bit of time to get there as well. I
Sure,
think,
yeah.
And my first job as a designer was for a denim supplier. So with denim and that kind of really precise seaming, detailing, pocketing, etc., I learned very quickly the importance of actually creating a CAD or a technical flat that looks so precise. Otherwise, you're going to send it to the pattern cutters and you're not going to get back what you wanted, essentially.
This is the thing, isn't it? Reading, giving it to somebody else to read, because you don't do, when you're at college, you do the whole process, which is fantastic, because you know when that pattern cutter is trying to cut that, what the process is. So I think in that sense, it's great to know all of it. But when you're in industry, you're kind of doing a portion of a job, aren't you? You're not, you're maybe drawing it and then you're relying on somebody else's interpretation. So it's got to be visually communicated in such a precise way.
Yeah. I would say as well, personally, I went into design because my pattern cutting, I wasn't as strong on the pattern cutting side of things and the technical side of things. But I would say that getting knowledge in every single area is really, really useful. Get as much knowledge as you can, because when I'm designing, I need to have the mindset of how is this going to be pattern cut? How am I going to work with the pattern cutters on this, etc. So I think, you know, the good thing about the course is having like the rounded view of like all of the skills. It's really important to have the knowledge and all of the rounded skills so that you can actually effectively design or pattern cut or whatever area it is that you wanted to go into.
Sure, yeah, I think that's really important. So hopefully, and of course it's a 3-year course, so you do get time, it builds, doesn't it? And
yeah, of course.
First year skills, second year's quite industry, and third year I'd say it's all about you and your collection, your portfolio, like you say, and applying for jobs.
Yeah, of course.
If you've not got anything else to present, can I open up questions to any of the students or anybody that's asked? Yeah, anybody that wants to ask a question, you're welcome to either type in chat or you can join us and enable your video if you want to, or just unmute and ask questions.